Dr. Susan Spillman here. One thing I find very interesting is that these days, when you ask people how they're feeling, very, very often they're feeling anxious. Anxious about the world, anxious about what's going to happen, fearful of the future. Are we going to have a war, a big world war? What are we going to have? What is going to happen? And what's going to happen to me and my family if that happens? So they're way, way, way in the future about what's going to happen, and their fear about what's going to happen. Alternatively, some people are depressed, and it can be depressed about the same thing. They're depressed at how the world is going, at what hasn't worked in the past, and don't see much hope for the future. So a lot of the current feelings have to do with what's going to happen in the future. And of course, there's another segment of the population that's experienced a lot of loss with COVID, loss of friends, loss of family. And so they're still very involved in the grief around that, and perhaps anger around how COVID was managed in their country or location. But it's really the grief that they're still dealing with. So we can see that people's emotional state these days is very, very intense, intensely caught up in either loss of how things were, loss of family members, loss of friends, and or fear about the future. So the question, of course, is how can we help them? How can I help you? How can other therapists help you? And that kind of thing. So one of the things we can offer, of course, is first of all a sounding board, because very, very often people need to talk about what's happened to them in this last couple of years. Many people are so overwhelmed that they don't want to hear or can't hear what their loved ones are saying. They just can't do it. It's not that they don't want to do it, it's that they themselves are so overwhelmed that they can't listen to someone else having the same feelings that they're having. So very often the first step is listening, just being able to listen. What's it been like for you? What has worked? What has not worked? How are you feeling about the last couple of years? How are you feeling about moving forward? And that sort of thing. And then, of course, we can explore more issues. Once people have talked about it, once they've started to deal with their feelings of grief or their feelings of anxiety about the future, about the unknown, once they've started to deal with some of that at a basic level, then, if they're interested, we can go into kind of the question of what's next. What's next for them? Given the situation that they're in, their current situation, what's really next for them in terms of moving forward, career-wise, relationship-wise? What's exciting? What's exciting for them? Because very often, of course, when we're in the midst of anxiety and depression, we're certainly not excited, right? It's too overwhelming, and excitement is just not even, it doesn't even make sense. So once you can relieve some of that depression and anxiety, and the person is able to talk about it, then you can start looking at, okay, what would be exciting for you? How could you, not only how could you move forward, not so much how, but where would you like to be going? Where would you like to be going in your life? So this is the part that really is fun then. It starts to be fun to explore that with people, for them to explore that for themselves. And, I, of course, have done this myself a number of different times over the course of my life, gone through this same process. And it works, it works if you put the time into it and kind of commit to yourself to feel better, that it's possible to feel better, and there's a way to feel better. Okay. Talk to you later. Give me a buzz if you'd like to talk more.